welcome back to Cheaper Pop Culture, the only show on the internet that obsesses over the smallest details of pop culture and then nitpicks them while being completely and unnecessarily outraged. Oh wait, no, that's not remotely true. Anyway, with Stranger Things' third season debuting, people are sure to be torn between celebrating Independence Day, which is now a world holiday ever since Will Smith and Jeff Goldblum saved us from aliens, or binging a show created for perverts with an unsettling sexual appetite. What? Oh, you didn't know? Oh yeah, Stranger Things is a grossly perverted show. Oh yes it is, and you're about to find out why, as I give you a Stranger Things sexual education of the disturbed kind. Because today's episode is... Stranger Things is a show made for meta nerds, and while some of these nerds who must be ultra cool in real life were tweeting about justice for Barb, the really dorky were asking about justice for Benny. Who? That is exactly my point, because many of you have forgotten about Benny, the diner owner who took care of Eleven and called child services and then got shot in the head just for feeding her french fries. Why don't you remember him? Why aren't more people talking about justice for Benny? He was one of the few friends that Sheriff Hopper actually had, and he still couldn't get any justice. Why were there no arrests made for Benny Shooter, huh? Benny was a nice guy! Except no. Benny was a monster, and I'm sure that Hawkins is glad to be rid of him. Okay, let's just put some pieces together. When Eleven first met Benny, he thought that she was a boy, which is understandable with her haircut.
Think you can steal from me, boy?
But in their next scene, when we cut back to Benny 11, he somehow knows that she's a girl.
I haven't told her that you were coming yet. I didn't want to run off.
Now look, I don't know about anyone else, but I don't think I would have made that call with the hair and everything. I never would have guessed that. But let's think about what else changed between scenes. Oh yeah, Eleven is now wearing different clothes. She's no longer in her hospital gown. And when you think about it, we also know that she has no problem just stripping in front of people. So now we already know that she's changed clothes once since leaving Hawkins' lab, and we know that the second time she changed clothes, the boys have to tell her to change in private, which means that the no taking your clothes off in front of people conversation wasn't given to her from Benny, even though she definitely did change a tire. And she definitely didn't change in front of one particular diner customer because later on, he referred to Eleven as a boy when he was speaking to the police. So now, we know that at some point in time, while they were alone, Eleven changed clothes without knowing or being told to do so in private, and during that time, Benny found out that she was a girl.
Smile looks good on you.
Just do the math on that one. Next up is something else that people are needlessly rooting for in the Stranger Things universe, and that's the pairing of Winona Ryder with Sheriff Hopper. Sure, they do have some chemistry there, but I want to point something else out. Earlier when we see Hopper, he's out taking in the night air after plowing his date. Then later when out looking for Will, we find out that Hopper never called her back and she was a little sour about it.
You could have at least called, said, Marissa, hey, it's not gonna work out. Sorry I wasted your time, I'm a dick.
Although, I do have to say, it was like, what, a day? I mean, she's overreacting just a little bit here, don't you think? Talk about clingy. But all that's not the problem. The real issue I have with this whole exchange is when they go looking for Will and they have to talk to the librarian. Hopper's fellow officer Calvin Powell says, "The librarian?" in a judgmental kind of way. I mean, what's the problem with the librarian? She's good looking, probably smart. I mean, librarian, books and all that. And Hawkins is a town of what, like 12 people? Half of which are going to be eaten by monsters before the 90s comes around, I'm sure? And even still, maybe Hopper is just into dorks or something. Leave him alone. You shouldn't go around kink shaming him, Calvin. Especially when your name is Calvin. And lastly, this disturbing bit, which was even endorsed by some of the people who make Stranger Things. Because there are actually some people rooting for Mike's mom and the complete psychopath Billy to get together. Yep, not only did they write and film this bizarre scene, but there are now people who are actually hoping that this comes to fruition. Now look, I get it, Mike's dad is not GQ or anything, especially since an entire conversation was dedicated to Jonathan Byers and Nancy so much as calling him a human cul-de-sac. But let me remind you that Mike and Nancy's mom is still a married woman. Plus they have a baby, which means it couldn't have been too many years since they last had sex. And might I remind you that Buffalo Billy is still in high school. Yeah, this former Power Ranger is supposedly a high school student. So now when we look at everything, why are people actually shipping this? What, is it okay because she's a mom and he's a teenage boy? Because you know if it was the other way around, if it was a middle-aged married man and a teenage girl, people would just lose their minds about how creepy it is. But you swap genders and all of a sudden it's supposed to be okay? Oh, I don't think so. Just imagine this scenario reversed. Imagine Mike's dad flirting with one of the teenage girls in the show, like Nancy. Oh, wait, no, that's his daughter. That's terrible. Okay, fine. And one of the other teenage girls in the show, like one of her classmates, Barb. What about Barb? Oh, crap. Yeah. Huh. Alright, this has all gone around full circle, so, bye.